Welcome back to my channel. I want to address the issue of people who call for no kings actually being all in favor of using government force to get their way, which is still a tyranny. But as long as they think they're in control, they are fine with it. It's similar to how they call for diversity, but never diversity of ideas, just race or sex, etc., as long as they all think alike. They are so crazy that they'll even say a black man who is a conservative isn't really black. Talk about cancel culture. Yet, so far, most blacks let them get away with it, which makes me wonder who is best labeled as Uncle Tom's. I'll start with Nick Freitas talking about a discussion he had with a liberal college professor. I know, liberal and college professor are practically synonymous today, but it seems there was actually a rational discussion going on. Nick reaches the point where they have been summarizing what they have been saying to each other from his point of view.
During the course of our conversation, we have both agreed on the problems. We're trying to address poverty, we're trying to address sickness, we're trying to address violence. We've even agreed on a lot of the end states. We want people to be happy, healthy, prosperous, and free. But the difference is that you're a lot more comfortable with violence than I am.
Well, that is certainly a very strong statement. Let's see the follow-through where he makes a comparison to his own use of violence in the military.
Dual PhD college professor was taken aback by that statement. I've actually been in a lot of situations where I was very comfortable with violence. You're just comfortable with it against innocent people, and I'm not.
Oh, innocent people. Big difference.
You and I will both see a problem. As an American, as a human being, I have to do something. And I ask you, maybe, would you like to come along? Would you like to donate? Would you like to do something? But no matter what you say, the option and the choice is yours. And if you choose to do something other than what I am asking for, you get to leave the conversation in peace. So now on the other side, you see a problem within society. And your automatic response is, we need a government program. We need government intervention. And so, Nick, we're going to raise your taxes, or we're going to regulate you, or we're going to set up a statute or a law. What happens if I say no? Do I get to live in peace? You will deprive me of liberty and property, and depending on how much I resist, you will deprive me of a lot more. You'll take away my kids, you'll take away my home. Not because I didn't want to help, but because I didn't want to help the same way you did. How do you square that with the belief that you're a tolerant person? And she looked at me and she said, I've never thought of it that way before.
This is ultimately the point. The Democrat left decides how they think something should be, and literally punishes anyone who disagrees, even if it is only disagreement over how to solve a problem. It has gotten so absurd that if you even say a man can't become a woman, they'll take your job and more. Tyrants don't tolerate opposition. Sure, there is force used in some things from both sides, but there is a big difference in very limited government power, as envisioned by the founders, and the intrusion into every aspect of our lives that the left has moved us to. And he wasn't being hyperbolic when referring to taking away your kids. We already know they expose kids to things parents don't approve of, but keep it hidden from the parents. I remember the time when the left pushed things in school that many parents would not like, and the leftists would say, you can opt your child out. Apparently, that was just a lie to get it into the classroom. Now, they just don't tell the parents. They treat your children as belonging to the government, much like all tyrannies do, including fascists and Nazis. So it is no surprise that the government under Biden labeled parents daring to speak out against far-left school boards as being terrorist groups.
One of the most important things that you can point out to some certain people is that they're the ones that have chosen coercion, aggression, and violence. Because if you don't do it the way they want to do it, they're going to punish you, and they're going to use the government to do so.
There's no getting around this. The left is heavily into coercion and hates diversity of thought. Just look at the political views of college professors or reporters. They overwhelmingly admit to being Democrats. I suspect many others don't admit it to try to minimize how obvious the massive bias is.
We now live in a world where adults, subsidized by your tax dollars, want to be able to have conversations about sex and sexual identity with your 12-year-old without you knowing, and then want to turn around and make the parent feel like they're the crazy one when they object to it.
As I said, This stuff used to be presented as something you could opt out of. They lied. This next one is on economics, but it still deals with the basic concept of freedom versus force.
When somebody clearly doesn't know what capitalism is, so they call it fascism, then they proceed to go out, burn down buildings, attempt to intimidate their political opposition, advocate for government-imposed speech codes, and then push for greater political control over the economy. So apparently, they don't know what capitalism is, they don't know what fascism is, and I'm willing to bet they don't know what irony is.
You may not like some aspect of capitalism or free enterprise, like workers will always say they are underpaid, but that is often people just wanting more, whether they actually deserve it or not. It's much like college kids who choose to get government loans, think others should pay off their loans. You know, like people who often never went to college or paid their own way. Trust me, these greedy kids, and yes, they are the greedy ones, really believe they deserve it. But basically, free enterprise does let each person choose. Fascism, socialism, communism, etc. take away choices. In other words, they use force to take from producers and give to others, after skimming a lot off the top. Let's go to another person who lays the economic reality out neatly.
The reason ideas like communism and radical socialism don't work is that in that sort of system, because what you're doing is you're taking away from the productive people to give to the unproductive people, that necessarily requires a high level of tyranny. You cannot have a radically, quote-unquote, progressive society without a radical level of authoritarianism and tyranny. It's not possible, because the idea is so contrary to human nature, you have to use a lot of force to put it in place.
Oh, I know. Those who live in a dream world will think we can change human nature and people will vote in socialism. But even if that happens, and certainly to a great extent it has already happened, how does that change anything? You see, all you are really saying is, if you can get a majority, though only a majority who actually vote, you can impose your will on those who voted the other way. There's no getting around the fact that socialism, communism, fascism, Nazism all require force. But what is really bad about all of them is, if you dare let these forms of government really get enough control, they will use any power of tyranny to prevent you changing back peaceably. Thanks for watching, and don't let the trolls stop you from speaking out.